So in last two sessions, 2 or 3 sessions, we discussed what is a controller and what is a view. And now, as part of our MVC, in today's session, we are going to see what is a model, what a model can do for us, and how a model will work for us, and how that's we are going to see today, guys. Right. So, as per our MVC, you know, right, already, what is a model, what is a view. I given the theoretical knowledge in the demo sessions. A model, a view is always a responsible person to display the data. A controller is a heart of MVC architecture. That's what we've seen in the early sessions, guys. Now, what exactly a model is here? What a model will do, right? So, as per our MVC architecture, we know that a model is always responsible for communicating with the database, guys. Let me go with the paint. So we have to only how we can communicate with the model and all we have to see. While we are working with the views also, we did something right. So let us assume this is a browser window and this is our architecture diagram. So this is our MVC architecture. This MVC architecture contains 3 layers, right? This is controllers layer, and this is the views layer, and this is models layer. This is already we know. This is what models layer. This models layer should needs to communicate with the database, no? Definitely. So we know that, and I'm just need to have a database here. Yeah, let us assume this is a small database. And for this, 1 minute, let me draw this as a database so that it will be clear for us. Right, guys? This is our database, MySQL database. Fine. So now we are talking about models. So we seen already about the views in the last session, right? So let us assume this is a browser window. Browser. We know these are all the controllers, right? Yeah, let's write the things here. Controllers. And this is our models, guys. What is a model? A model is always responsible to communicate with the database, right? We know that. Can we communicate with the database by using a view? It is impossible. Can we communicate with the controllers database? Is it possible? No. See, as per our MVC, who is the responsible person to communicate with our model? To communicate with the database MySQL. This is our MySQL database. So here we need to communicate with this, and we have to get some data, and we have to insert some data. Yesterday's session, we taken some data. The data is static data or dynamic data now. Whatever the data we are having here, this is the data variable we taken. Actually, this data is static now. You taken into a control. Actually, as for our MVC, who is the responsible person? Model is the responsible person. Whatever the data we are able to put here, this data should come from your model, because model is the person to work with the data, right? What a control. See, this is EMP is our controller. Inside EMP controller, we are doing some data. This data you taken from the controller. Actually, as for MVC, this data needs to come from model, guys. So that we will see now. So generally here we have some files, guys, here, right? So I'm simply going to create a controller block.php. This is my file. Let's assume. So here controller, what is a controller? We know that a controller is a class file that contains collection of methods and all. Whatever the model you created, whatever the view you created, how we can send the view to browser, how we can send the model to browser with the help of controller only, right? Let us create one file here, blog model.php. Here I mentioned model. So that is your choice. If you want, you can mention the model, otherwise you can leave it. But remember, whatever the model you are creating, that model should be saved into the models folder, guys. So how the communication will happen? When a user sent a request in the browser, immediately the request will be received by the controller. Once after that, immediately it will go for the model, guys. From model, what model will do? Model will communicate with your database. Right. What is going to happen now? Whatever the data we are in the database, the data will be sent back to model. Again, this data will be sent back to your controller. See, guys, what model is doing here? Model is giving some data to controller. Whatever the data available in the controller, all of it remember carefully, this point is very important. So we are requesting. See here what happened, guys, here. This is request 1, right? Let us write this as a request 1 here. This is request 2, right? Let us write something called request 2. and this is going to be request 3. You went into database here. So this is request 3. Now you are getting the response back now. Request 4. And this is going to be request 5. So, I mean, how the communication flow, right? First browser to controller, controller to model, model to database. After what database is doing? Database is not sending the data to directly browser. Again, database is sending the fourth step. Database is sending the data to model again. What model is doing again? Model is sending the data to controller again. Did you see the flow? How the flow is going to be happen? Right. Now, whatever the it may be, here we have some data, guys. Okay, we got the data. Whatever the data we are able to see, is this data? Who is going to display this data? Tell me, please. See, controller is holding some data. Whatever the data the controller is holding, the data should be displayed now. Right. To display this data, what we need to do, guys, view is important. So from here, what we are going to do, whatever the data we are having here, this data we are going to send to a view file. Okay, we have to see view is a person to display the data. Controller is not a person. Controller is a mediator between model and view, right? Whatever the data we sent it to model controller, the data should be sent to a view, and view will collect the data. Again, it will back here, and whatever the data it may be, now it is going to be displayed into the browser, guys. As per the steps, if you can see, this is going to be the sixth step. I can say this is the sixth step, and this is what the seventh step you have here. This is the seventh step, and this is going to be the eighth step. This is how the communication flow will be happen here, guys. Did you see what happens there? See, who is model? A model is always a responsible person to deal with the database data. Who is view? A view is a responsible person to display the data to the browser, right? So who is controller? Controller acts as a mediator between model and a view, guys. Remember, as for our MVC, we cannot access a model directly. We cannot access a view directly. The communication between a model and view will always happens with the help of controller only. So now what I want to do, whatever the block data we have, let me create a file. This is going to be blockview.php file. Whatever the data you are in the model, the data will be collected by the controller. After the data we are sending to block view. What block view will do? Block view will display the data in the browser. Shall we do the same flow? Whatever the flow I created, if we can do this flow, yes, things will be get clear, guys. Okay, let us do the same flow, guys. First, what I'm doing here, first I'm starting with a model. I'm starting with a model. Yesterday we created a view first. After that we created a controller. Why should I create a controller? We know that a view will never call directly. A view will always call with the help of a controller only. That's the reason we did it, guys. Right. Now what I need to do here, we are going to create a model. What is a model name? Blog model.php. This is going to return some data. What is a model again here? If you can come down, a model is nothing, guys. A model is always deals with DB data, database data, like operation, inserting data, deleting data, updating data, selecting data. So all these kind of operations we can deal with the database, guys. That is what exactly a model is here. Right. So what is the next thing here? A model is always deals with the DB data. Simply a model is a class file, guys. A model is a class file. PHP class file. We know how to create a class, right? What a class can contain? Class can contain collection of methods and properties. By using those methods and properties, we can work with data. You want to insert data, you want to select data, you want to delete data, update data. For everything, for every operation, we can create one method, right? So a model is a class file which contain collection of methods, guys. Let us see all the model classes. Model classes are saved inside where we have to save, guys, application/models folder. Application/models folder. Here you have to save it. While creating controller, we have some rules and regulations, right? Class name and file name same, right? Here also model class name and file name should be same, guys. File name are same. Very same rule. File name are same. We have to maintain the same name. And the first letter of a class. What are the rules and regulations you guys are following? Right? First letter of a class should be capital letters, guys, right? So caps, it should be in caps letters. Simply I'm writing caps. Yeah, this is what we have to mention it, guys. The first letter of a class should be into the capital letters. Model class name and file name should be same rules and regulations, guys, right? Every controller class is extending with CI controller na? While we creating a controller, remember guys, all of you, so everything is going to be extend with something like this, guys, right? So now what we need to do here, right? So CI controller, but here every model class should extend with the CI underscore model. This is what you have to mention it, guys. Every model which we are going to create, our model should extend with CI model. CI model is predefined. Why should I extend with CI model, sir? For example, if you want to utilize the predefined resources of databases into your model, definitely you have to extend with the CI model. So why we are extending CI controller? So in every controller, remember this is the controller we created. This controller is extending CI controller. Why CI controller? Remember some of the predefined things are defined inside of it. If you want to load models, if you want to load libraries and helpers or any other resources into your controller, you have to extend with the CI controller. Slowly you will understand what exactly CI controller, what exactly CI underscore model. So what we need to do, guys? Now we are going to create a class. What is the model name? Blog model extends. This is what CI model is. This is how we are going to create now. Shall we create a class now? Yeah, let us create a class. I'm going to create a new file here. Open PHP, close PHP. We are going to save this file. Where we are going to save inside our controller, sir? This is not a controller. Now we are working with a model folder. So this is application and go to models. First now we don't have any files inside this models folder. This is the first file we are going to create inside of it. What is the file name? You know, blog model model.php. Here I mentioned the name of the file as blog model, right? Model is your choice. If you want, you can give for the namesake. I'm giving you. It's a model. By seeing the file, I can understand. Oh, this is a model file. This is a controller file. This is controller class. This is a view file. Something like this. Okay. Name of the file is our choice completely, but follow the rules and regulations, guys. Right. Blog model.php. So if it is a blog model.php, what is my name of the class? Definitely blog model. This is what exactly blog model. Class name, file name should be same as like controller. This is going to be extends with CI underscore model. This is going to be CI underscore model. Guys. Every model needs extends with the CI model. It's very important. Without this, we can't do anything. Right? So what a model will do generally. So right now we didn't do any database configuration, guys. Don't worry. Let me create one function, public function, get all blocks. Simply I'm writing one function. You can take any name. So I written some naming convention, camel casing, get G small, all A capital and blocks B capital. That is your choice. You want to make all lowercase letters? Yeah, you can go with all lowercase letters. All capital letters? Yes, we can go. Name of the function is completely your choice, right? Whatever the function it may be, follow some rules and regulations. This is what exactly thing is. What this function needs to do, it has to write a select query to database, select star from blocks table. What it will do, it will give all the records. Right now, we don't have any blocks, we don't have any table with us. Let me create one static array. Let us assume the communication is important. Are we getting dynamic data or not? That is later, don't worry. So here, what I want to do here, let me take a variable data. You can take any variable here. So block titles, you want to take some titles, right? So do one thing, title 1, title 2, title 3, like this. We can take a lot of titles, guys. That's not a problem. So this is going to be an array, or else we can take an array like this now. Array, open, close. In this, if you want, you can take an associative array, or you can take an arm array. This is going to be an array. Simply, I'm taking, guys, title of the block. So title will goes here, something like I written one element, right? Like this, second element also we can take, third element also we can take, but I'm not taking. So this is going to be like this: title 1, title 2, title 3. I'm not taking dynamic data, so we don't have any database connection right here. Don't worry about it. This is going to be 2, this is going to be 1. Perfect, guys. So here what we are going to do, we are going to return $data. This is what exactly we are going to do color data. Understand? Right. Remember, in model, we are not, model is not a person to print the data. Remember carefully. A model is always a responsible person to give the data to controller. So what we need to do after getting the data, actually, whatever the data we are assigning here, this data needs to come from database, guys, right? Database. And whatever the data we are having, the data, I need to return it. When we are calling this get all blogs method, whatever the data we are having, the data is going to be returned to controller. So your blog is ready with some data, blog model is ready. Now this data should be called now. To call this data, can I call this function anywhere directly? This is a model. We know that it can be called as per our diagram. Once our blog model is ready, so we have to call with the help of block controller. Let's assume, actually guys, right now 3-4 steps are not there for us. Why? Because we don't have any database now, right? Don't worry, that's we will see later, right? So this is the file I created where we saved application blocks folder. What is the name of the file? What is the name of the class? Block model. This should be saved. Done. Now this should be called, right? Whatever the data we are having here, this data needs to transfer to a view file. Is that not right? Who will display the data? Who will collect the data? Model. Who will display the data? A view. Will they communicate each other? Model and a view. Model and a view will communicate each other? Definitely they cannot. Right? Who is the mediator? Controller should be the mediator. So whatever the data we are having in the block model, this data we have to collect and we have to pass to our controller, guys. Okay. So for this, we are going to create one controller. Let us go and create the controller here. PHP. So I am going to create one controller. We know that where we have to save the controllers into the controllers folder. Let us go to controllers folder. I am going to create one controller called blog.php is my controller name. Simply create a class file. What is the name of the class? BLOZ. And we know that every controller should extend with the CI underscore controller. This is what we have to do it, guys. CONTROLLER controller. Then CA controller. Right. So I'm going to create one function here, public function index. Public FUNCTIY, public function index. Now, question. What this index function needs to do, you know, this index function needs to load the model, guys. Load the model. What is the model you created? Block model we created, right? That model we have to load here. Why I have to load the model? Because model is having the data. Controller is not having data. Controller is a mediator. That's it, right? Now, whatever the data we are having in this model, that we have to collect into the controller. Why? Because a controller is a person to pass the data to a view, right? Can a model send the data to view directly? No, I told you already. In a MVC, a model and a view will never communicate directly. The communication between a model and view will always happens via a controller. As per the diagram, they are not communicating each other. Remember this carefully. This communication is impossible. Whatever the communication we are writing, this is not at all possible. You can do this communication. So whatever the data you have in the model, data needs to be transferred to controller. Controller will send the data to a view. This is what we have to check it, guys. Go back. Now, so here, how can we load a model? Yesterday, we seen how to load a view. This of load, there is a method called view method. And what we have to pass here? View name we have to pass here. View underscore name. View name. Whatever the view name we have, we have. Now, this of load of what you want to load now? Model. To load a model, we have a model method predefined, guys. Here you have to pass model class name. What is the model class you created? That name you have to pass here. Understand? Right. So once the model class is loaded, we have to call one method. What is the method we have? Get all blocks. There is a method called get all blocks. So how can we call the method inside of it? You know, guys, whatever the model class name you provided here, in this we have a method. If you want to call this of the name of the model class name, exactly what is the parameter you passed here, the same you have to take here and underscore the method name. This is the way of calling the model and model methods, guys, right? Let me show you the same. So this is the way of loading a model. Once the model loaded with the model name, this is the name of the model, right? With the model name, we have to call the method. What this method is doing? This method is returning some data. That data we are going to pass to a view, guys. So whatever the model you created, block model. Let me show you the same architecture now. Whatever the thing we did, now we are going to see the same, guys. Now what I need to do, this is the way of loading model into a controller. So once model is created, this is the way of loading a model, guys. Go to your controller. This is my controller. Here I have to load it, right? Load the model. This of load. What is the method we have? Model is a method. Inside this is the predefined, guys, to load the model. Always remember, here we have to model name. What is the model name you created? Blog model. You can use either capital letters or small letters, guys. No problem. Blog model. This is the name of the model. Exactly, this is the model you created. Once you did this, or else if you have any doubt, you can execute this localhost news localhost slash news, and you do this news slash this is going to be blog now. Hit enter. So do you have any error? So let me start the server. I believe I have to start the server. Yeah, server is not started. It is started right now. Can you see you don't have any error? The file was executed. So I mean the model loaded properly. For example, if you're doing blog model 1.2 and refresh the page, you may have some error. Runtime exception, unable to locate the model you have specified. Sometimes if you got the error, remember carefully. If you get this type of error, whatever the model you created may be saved in wrong location, maybe file name may be wrong. Please check this carefully. What is the model I created? Blog model. So you have to load blog model only now. So why you saved something like this, right? So now you can see we don't have any model is loaded. Once the model is loaded, we have to call the model method now. In this, we have a method called get all blocks, guys. So how can I call this, guys? This of the name of the model. What is the name of the model? Blog model. Exactly how to take something like this, guys. Blog model. What is the method you have here? Get all. What is the spells? Don't do any spell mistakes. Get all blocks is the spell. Let us go. Get all blocks. This is the method we have. Understand? Again, I want to refresh whether it is called or not. Can you see? You don't have any error. Means that was called successfully. So what this method is doing there? So this method is collecting some data and it is returning, right? When it is returning, you can take this into an variable, guys. Data or any variable you can take. So blogs or anything you can take, whatever it may be. Can you see if we can print this print underscore of blogs? Just I want to print it blogs blogs. Can you see? It is going to print the model data. Who is printing the data? Controller is printing. As per our MVC, is controller is responsible person to print the data? No, right? Who is the responsible person to print the data? Right, definitely a view, right? So we just printed. Why I printed, for the confirmation from the model, am I getting the data or not? Yes, I'm getting the data. So once data is collected, we have to pass to the view now, right? How we can pass the data to a view? In the form of associative array. You are taking something blogs, right? So take an associative array here. Articles, I'm taking something called articles. This is articles I'm taking. This we have to pass to a view. Did you create any view? No, we didn't create any view, guys, to display the articles, right? Let me go and let me create a view, and where we have to save the files, guys. These view files should be saved into a view folder. Why we are creating a view immediately? To display the data. Data is ready, but we have to display it now. To display, there is no view. That's the reason I went to views folder. I'm creating blog view.php. This is blog view.php. So here we can write some HTML stuff, right? So whatever the HTML code we have, yes, we can write some HTML. Let us copy this HTML stuff. Right? HTML body, head, and everything should be kept right here. So this is going to be articles. All articles. Let's go with the body tag is there now. Right, close the body tag. Body open, body close. And the next thing is going to be right. This is going to be HTML open, HTML close. That's it, guys. So inside the body, we can take some heading. So here you can take some H1 tag open, H1 tag close, all articles. All articles. That's it, right? So whatever the articles we are having in the controller, this article should be passed to this view now, right? Go to your controller, and here we have to load the view. This of load the view. Name of the view. What is the name of the view? Blog view. Right? This is what the view you created just now. Blog view. Right. To this, just you can pass $blocks. But yesterday we taken here a variable called data. Whatever the variable it may be, that is your choice completely. You want to take any variable, you can take it, no problem. But how we can pass the data to a view in the terms of an associative array. This is an associative array, right? These articles now we are going to access here. Now can you see? I told you, controller is not a person to print the data. Now you can go here, open PHP, close PHP. Let me print this, print underscore R of dollar articles. Just I want to print dollar articles. Just refresh the page. Now can you see? You can see these articles are printed by a view, not by a model, not by a controller, right? So this is how the MVC architecture, guys. These articles we have to display now. Let us go and let us take an ULLI, UL open, UL close. Here we can write immediately a for each loop. For each, always, guys, one more thing, remember carefully. While we are displaying any kind of data, first we need to check whether there is records or not. If the records are there, we can do something. Anyhow, the articles is an array. Let me do one thing, guys. Before going to this, I have to write one small condition. Open PHP. Let us write some echo count of dollar articles. ARTICLES. Just I'm printing this count. If you have records, can you see? It is giving you 4 records. From model, you are going to model. You are removing all these guys. Nothing there now. So there is no record. Now what is the count of this? Now it is going to be 0. If it is 0, what you can do? Sometimes you may have records. Sometimes you may not have records in the DB, right? So if 0, display a message. Sorry, no records found. If not 0, something like this, guys. So what I want to do, it's a good practice always while displaying data into a view. We have to check before displaying the data. We have to check whether we have records are there or not, right? If you have records in a data variable, so we can display them. So in articles now we have 4 records, we can display them. If no records, what we will do? Will you iterate the data? No, right? So I want to write one condition. If count greater than 0, I mean at least one record is there, okay, we can display. If there is no records, what we need to do in the else block, I just want to display echo no records found. Simply, this is always a good practice, but yesterday I didn't do this, but today I'm doing this. In the last session also we displayed some data in a view, but we didn't write this condition. But it's a good practice always. In the last session we didn't do this. It is a good practice always. While displaying data, we have to check whether there is records or not. No records found, guys. This is what we have to write it. So if we have records, what we need to do? We have to iterate them, right? So let me iterate the data here. So now I'm going to take an UL and UL. Just titles only now, right? I want to display a title tag. LI open, LI close. These LI list items, how many articles are there? 4 articles, then loop should be iterated 4 times. 10 articles, then loop should be iterated 10 times, guys. Now what I want to do here, let us open PHP, close PHP, write a for each loop, guys. Here, this is going to be for each dollar articles as ART or any variable you can take, no problem, right? You can display an article echo. Directly I'm writing echo statement. Let that open, let that close. Concatenate this ART of title, guys. That is very important. What is associated where you are returning there? You are returning ART of title, right? Go to model. What type of data? Title 1, title 2, title 3, something like this, right? So I think this is not one, guys. This should be fixed. Title 1, title. Article maybe changes. It should not be 1, 2, 3. The key should be same here. Now can you see title will go say title 1, title 2, something like this, right? So if you want, you can use title 1, title 2, title 3, something like this. So it will be very clear for you. But this is how the model view communication, guys. Remember, exactly, we have some data in the model. This is the data in the model. This data we pulled to controller. Here we pull it to controller. After pulling this data, we printed. Why we printed this data? For checking the data is there or not in the variable. If data is there, we have to send it to a view now. Right? How we can send the data to a view in terms of an associate array? That's why I take something called articles. After that, I pass it to a view, And this is what exactly. Guys, if you can understand this program, almost all our coordinator completed. The only thing in the blog model, we have to get this data by database. Unfortunately, we are getting the static data, no problem. Understand the flow first. If you can understand, and next session, what we will do, whatever the data we are having, this should be dynamic and it should be come from database. That will also I will show you when database is started, right? Yes, guys. This is all about the flow. Now, what we did today, right, guys? Remember carefully in today's session, the flow. I'm explaining the flow. Try to see what we did here in the today. Model have some data. Data was sent to controller, right? Controller. What controller is doing? Controller is sending to a view. This is what we seen, guys. Understand? This is the flow we seen. We have a model. Model is having some data. The data was sent to controller. Controller is sent to a view, and view is displaying, guys. Tomorrow, I mean, in the next session, what we are going to do, I will create a view. In this view, there may be a contact form or a registration form or a small login form. Whatever the data we are having in the view, the data I have to send it to model. So definitely it should be via controller. Controller, what it has to do, it has to do the model. In today's session, how we can collect the model data with the help of controller and we pass it to a view. In next session, we are from the view. In the view, nothing but I will create a small contact form, guys. In that contact form, you are going to enter some data. Whatever the data you entered in the contact form, once you submit it, I have to collect it now. Once the data collected, I have to send it to model. What model will do? Model will insert the data into database. Yes or not, right? But we don't have any database connections right now. At this flow, we will see in the next session, guys. Okay, right. So this is what exactly a model controller view communication. Are they one question? A model and a view communicating directly? Impossible. They will never communicate directly. The communication happens via with the help of a controller and a model. This is what very important thing, guys. Seriously, right? So please try to practice this. If you guys are having any doubts inside of it, let us know, guys, right? Practice without fail. Try to watch the video. If you have any doubts, try to watch 3 times or 4 times, no problem at all, right? This will give you a good clarity for you guys, right? Thank you, guys. Let us know if you guys are having any doubts.